Hello all, welcome to Ferdinand Tutorials. Today we are bringing to you an interesting topic in the field of sciences, which is air. Now, air is a very vital constituent of the earth. In fact, air is something that no living organism can take away from the other. You know, when you try to do it, you are trying to murder someone. So air is very important in the life of every living organism. Now, matter is anything that have mass and occupies space. Air is a matter which is inevitable in our lives. The earth is covered with a blanket of air called the atmosphere. Among the few fundamental elements, it is the most important because no life can exist for a pause of time without it. It is needed by every single organism for their survival. Now, what is in the air? We're talking about constituents of air. 3/4 of all air resides in the troposphere, the lowest layer of the Earth's atmosphere. Air is a mixture of gases, most of which are naturally occurring. Air also contains a significant amount of human-made air pollutants, including some that are not safe to breathe and some that warm our planet's climate. Now, the troposphere also contains water in all three phases. We are talking about the liquid, the solid, and gas, as well as solid particles called aerosols. Now, let's talk about the pie chart showing air. Now, when we're talking about pie chart, we're talking about the different constituents that constitute what? 100%. You know, pie chart is a circle that is 360 degrees. So when we're talking about the percentage, we're talking about what? 100%. So when we're talking about the pie chart showing the gases that make up the atmosphere, now we're looking at nitrogen, which is 78%. We're looking at oxygen, which is 21%. And we're looking at inert gas, mostly argon, which is 0.96%, and carbon dioxide, 0.04%. That constitutes what? A total of what? 100%. Now, the dry composition of the atmosphere is mostly nitrogen and oxygen. It also contains fractional amounts of argon and carbon dioxide, and other trace amounts of other gases, such as helium, neon, methane, krypton, and hydrogen. The most abundant natural occurring gas is nitrogen, which makes up 78% of the air. Oxygen, which contains 21%. We have argon, and we have what? Other gases. The inert gas, argon, which is the third most abundant, and other what? Trace elements. Now, their trace elements include, we have the carbon dioxide, we have the neon, we have the helium, we have the methane, krypton, hydrogen, nitrous oxide, xenon, ozone, iodine, carbon monoxide, and what? Ammonia in the what? Atmosphere. Now, due to the water cycle, the amount of water in the air is constantly changing. The lower troposphere can contain up to 4% water vapor in areas near the tropics, while the poles contain only trace amounts of water vapor. The concentration of water vapor decreases drastically with altitude. The upper troposphere has considerably less water vapor than air near the surface. The stratosphere and mesosphere have almost no water vapor, and the thermosphere contains none at all. Now, remember, in the atmosphere, from the atmosphere we have the exosphere, from the exosphere we have the thermosphere, from the thermosphere we have the mesosphere, stratosphere, and then we have the what? The troposphere here. So to the earth. So that's why when we're talking about the water constituent, we talk about the troposphere, because it is closer to the earth. Are you getting it? So that is it. Now let's go to the aerosols. Now, aerosols, air also contains tiny solid particles called aerosols, such as the dust, sea salt, and ash from the erupting volcanoes or forest fires. Many of these particles are so small that they are microscopic. Others are large enough to be seen. Aerosols affect climate by helping clouds form and shading the planet by scattering or absorbing sunlight. In the last century, manufacturing and widespread use of combustion engines have increased the number of aerosols in the atmosphere as particulate matter spills from smokestacks and exhaust pipes. Burning wood and other material also add particles to the air. Like everything on Earth, the air is made up of chemicals. Now, the chemicals in the air often combine with each other or with other chemicals from the Earth's surface through chemical reaction. Many of the chemical reactions help maintain healthy natural environments and are vital for plants and animals. Nitrogen gas in the atmosphere does almost nothing, but nitrogen elsewhere on Earth is essential for life. Now, through the nitrogen cycle, nitrogen makes its way into soil and water, binds with other elements, and can be used by living things. Oxygen from the atmosphere causes oxidation reactions that help break down matter and release nutrients into soils, and is used by humans and animals in cellular respiration. Atmospheric chemistry in the troposphere is also influenced by human-made chemicals that can negatively impact human health and the environment. Now, for example, vehicle exhaust contains nitrogen dioxide as well as other polluting chemicals such as carbon monoxide and sulfur dioxide. Now, nitrogen dioxide reacts with atmospheric oxygen to form tropospheric ozone, which is hazardous to plant and animal cells. Now, the next one there is smog, which is mainly made of ozone and particulate carbon soot. And particulate carbon emitted by coal-burning power plants causes damage to the lungs of humans and animals. Factories that burn fossil fuels also release sulfur and nitrogen dioxide, which combine with water in the atmosphere to make acid rain. Acid rain causes damage to natural and human-made environment. Now, let's talk about the chemistry of the air. Now, nitrogen is 78% of the air in the atmosphere. Now, nitrogen is transferred to plants, animals, and the environment through the nitrogen cycle. Nitrogen dioxide. Now, nitrogen dioxides are air pollutants that contribute to the formation of the ozone. They also create nitric acid, which is part of acid rain when they mix with water droplets in the air. Oxygen. Oxygen makes up 21% of the atmosphere. It is highly reactive and forms compound with numerous other chemicals and is necessary for respiration in living things. The next one there is ozone. Ozone in the troposphere is a human-made pollutant. Ozone in the stratosphere forms the ozone layer, which is crucial for the survival of life here on Earth. Now, let's talk about argon. Now, argon is an inert gas that exists in the atmosphere as a singular atom. Argon makes up about 1% of the atmosphere and comes mostly from the decay of potassium in the Earth's crust. It is an inert gas, which means that it does not react with other chemicals. Now, water vapor. Water is cycled through all of Earth's system in each of three phases: solid, liquid, or gas. Water vapor in the atmosphere is a greenhouse gas due to its heat-trapping ability. Carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide naturally composes about 0.3% of the atmosphere, but the amount is increasing due to the burning of fossil fuels. Plants and eubacteria use carbon dioxide during photosynthesis. Humans, other animals, and plants add it to their air through respiration. Carbon dioxide is a heat-trapping greenhouse gas. Now, carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide in the air comes from burning fuel in vehicles, volcanoes, and forest fires. It is a poisonous gas. Methane. Methane gas is released into the air from landfills, livestock and their manure, and from oil and gas wells. When we're talking about livestock, we're talking about this ruminant animal. When they belch, the gas they belch out there is what? A methane gas. It's a heat-trapping greenhouse gas. Now, sulfur oxide. Sulfur oxides are produced when coal and oil are burned. It's also released from volcanoes. Now, the sulfur oxide mixes with water droplets in the atmosphere to create sulfuric acid, which is a component of what? Acid rain. Now, let's talk about the properties of air, which is the last part. Now, as mentioned earlier, gases are matter. Yes, there are certain properties of gases like any other matter. Some common properties are as follows. Now, colorless and odorless. Remember, we're talking about the characteristics or properties of air. Colorless and odorless. Air generally has no color or odor. So if you breathe in any gas, that is, let's say you breathe in air and it is not conducive for you, that is not an air. You understand? It's a contaminated air. So a contaminated air is not an air. I hope you're getting now from the properties of air. So it is colorless and odorless. That means if it's colored and it is odored, then it is not an air. So air has no color or odor. It is an invisible matter that can only be felt. All living things breathe air for their survival. Moving air is called wind. Cool air is called breeze. Are you getting it? So that is it. Now, second is that it occupies space. It is a mixture of different gases. Hence, like every other matter, they also occupy space. On blowing, a balloon expands because the air being blown into it fills up the empty space. Hope you are getting the analogy there. So air exerts pressure. Another property, air exerts pressure. It has weight, and the pressure exerted by the weight of air is known as air pressure. Now, due to gravity, this mixture of gases near the surface is denser than at higher altitudes. This is why the gaseous atmosphere in the mountain is thinner than that at the surface. The last property there is expansion. Another property is its expanding property. On heating, it expands and occupies more space. The more it expands, the thinner it becomes. Hence, the pressure of the warm wind is lower than that of cold wind. So that is it about air. Do well to share. Comment what you don't understand in this video. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, and see you again in our next video.